PC Sonic, the heart of your system.
Hello, BRIONY here from Kit Guru, and in this review I'm taking a look at a pre-built PC from box.co.uk, and the PC that I'm reviewing is the Cube Dragon Army 1. So if you can't already tell, this is obviously an MSI themed PC. MSI have actually sent over some other peripherals so I could create the really cool kind of matching setup you see in front of me. So I've got one of their optics curved gaming monitors, which definitely looks rather nice. I quite like having a monitor as a bit more of a standard size. Actually, I'm used to my giant 40-inch beast. I've also got a couple of matching MSI peripherals as well, so the whole thing kind of works together quite nicely. So this PC, like I said, it is called the Dragon Army 1, and it does come in with a pretty high retail price. You're looking at £2,269 for the specifications that I kind of looked over in this review. So the components inside are pretty high end. You've got a processor from AMD, the Ryzen 7 3800X, and that is cooled with an all-in-one cooler from Corsair, the H100i, a very popular cooler that's been around for a few years now on different revisions and things. And then you've also got a RTX 2080 Super, and it is an MSI card as expected. And then when it comes to kind of the RAM, you've got 16 gigabytes of 3200 megahertz memory. There's also, for some storage as well, you've got a 500 gigabyte 970 Samsung Evo drive, and then also a 1 terabyte Seagate Barracuda for a little bit more storage as well. The operating system comes pre-installed, and it is Windows 10 Home. But for those of you that want to use your own operating system, you can change that on the box website, so you can take the operating system off, and then if you want, you can save about £90 on that retail price. When I get a pre-built PC, I always like to check to ensure the pricing is fair. So I did put all of the components in the system, including the operating system, into PC Part Picker, and at the time of the review I came up with a price of around £2,058. So if we look at the asking price, you're paying about a 10% premium for the assembly and also a 3-year collect and return warranty as well. So for me, I do personally think that is a fair asking price. However, I know a few of you will probably disagree with that, but when you consider the kind of time and hassle and the knowledge that goes into building a PC, and also the fact that you're going to have a 3-year hassle-free warranty, that's all going to kind of cost them money, and I think that's fair enough that they've included that in the asking price of the system, and I don't think they're asking too much, basically. Pre-built is never going to be the cheapest way to do things. If you want to save money, the best thing to do is research it and build your own system. Can be quite kind of daunting at first, but is definitely worth doing if you want to save money, and also is good knowledge to have. I always encourage people to try and build your own PC if you can, or if you're not interested in doing that and you just want a PC that is plug and play and really easy to go, then I think Box have done a pretty good job. They already installed the operating system for you, and for me they also installed the software as well. So I had iQ was already set up, so the fans immediately turned to red when I turned it on, and they also installed the MSI Gaming Center software, and also kind of like the Nvidia control panel and things as well, so you've got your graphics drivers. So it is very, very plug and play. But yeah, if you want to build your own system, I really encourage you to do so. Otherwise, I do think this is a reasonable price for a pre-built PC. The way that this system looks, I do think is pretty cool. So the case that they've used is an MSI case. So MSI do make cases now. I reviewed one of their more budget cases earlier on in the year, and the main emphasis on it was definitely aesthetics over performance. So it does look like a really cool case. It seems to be sort of the same thing here. So this is the Gungnir 100D case. It is kind of a more high-end MSI case, and it has the really nice tempered glass panel. So it's got quite a dark tint to it, but I think it creates a really nice effect with the red LED kind of fans and components that are inside the case. You've got a PSG shroud along the bottom, so that's going to hide any kind of unsightly cables. However, the cables that Box have opted to use are actually really nice kind of black and red braided cables, and they've used cable combs as well. So the cable management in this PC is actually really neat, and I think it does look really good. So it's kind of a shame that it's actually hidden behind quite a dark tinted panel. Also, the main kind of striking feature with this case is obviously the giant red MSI Dragon logo on the front. I do think that's a really cool, makes a really cool effect. Obviously suits an MSI theme really, really well. The dragon is like their logo, it's everywhere, all over the stuff. And I do think it is quite nice. It's something you might see on maybe like more of like a modded case. It's not something you expect to see on a more standard case, I guess, because most manufacturers go for kind of a really similar design now. It's like glass and RGB fans, and that's like a lot of, that seems to be like the in trend at the moment. So seeing like a really big graphic like this on the front of the case is really quite striking, and I think it definitely helps it to stand out. The case itself also seems to be pretty good quality. It's not a particularly expensive case. I think it's under £100 still, but it is overall pretty well built. It feels pretty solid. It's nice and easy to take apart if you want to clean it, and the dust filters are easy to get to. Like I said, the front panel comes off, the top panel comes off, and then you've also got a dust filter that slides out the back as well. However, with the case that they've selected, the kind of issue that I have with it is doesn't seem to be much of an emphasis on performance, and it's something I noticed with the other MSI case, is that it looks really good, but there's obviously not many places that air can go through. There's only kind of like the fan at the back, because even the top of the case, there isn't any mesh up there. It's just got kind of these little slits like the front. So it looks good, but performance is a bit restricted. However, I did notice when I come to do the temperatures, which I'll talk about later on, it didn't actually have any issues with temperatures. I just feel like the airflow is obviously quite restricted. So when it comes to the fans that Box have opted to use, so the overall system has this black and red kind of aesthetic going on, and the components that aren't MSI are basically Corsair components, and Corsair is well known for having RGB pretty much everything. So you've got the LR120 RGB fans, you've also got the Corsair Vengeance Pro RGB memory, and then you've also got the H100i as well, which also has lighting effects. And like I said, they pre-install the IQ software, so you've got the Corsair IQ software, and that is already set to kind of the red coloration, so it does create a really nice effect within the system. However, I can't help feeling that the fact that they've chosen the LR120 fans is a little bit wasted on the system, because it is obviously a black and red theme system, and getting the LR120 fans and then just kind of changing them to static red seems like a bit of a waste, because they are very expensive fans, and most of that comes from the fact that you can do all these really cool crazy lighting effects and stuff with them, whereas with this system they're just kind of set to plain red. So you could definitely save a bit of money there and just buy some static red LED fans and get pretty much exactly the same effect and not have to splash out like £80 on fans. But I mean, I'm not complaining too much, because they do look awesome. I just feel like it could be somewhere where you could Box could have saved a bit of money and spent it on better performance instead. But in general, yeah, I do like how it looks. I think they've done pretty good. I've now removed that nice tempered glass panel so we can take a look inside the PC and look a little bit closer at all those lovely components. The motherboard that they've opted to use is an MSI motherboard, unsurprisingly, as this is an MSI themed system, and it's the X570 Meg Ace motherboard. Luke reviewed that motherboard back in September and he gave it our Kit Guru Worth Buying award, so it is also a really good motherboard. It has some really nice kind of RGB effects. You've got it set to red in the system, but obviously you can change it to whatever colour you want. However, strangely enough, it is actually black and gold in coloration. The one thing with this motherboard though is that I can't help feeling it's a little bit overkill for the system. You're using a Ryzen 7 3800X, and this is a very high-end motherboard that would suit a Ryzen 9 3900X, for example. So I think it's somewhere that if it was my own system, I would definitely spend less on the motherboard and then put that money into something else like the RAM. You can get some really good motherboards that are still going to be plenty enough for this particular processor, but also save yourself a bit of money as well. Like I said, I think it's more suited to kind of the higher end, the kind of top end CPU in AMD's lineup instead. However, one thing I did notice on the Box website is that with this particular system you can actually spec it with a Ryzen 9 3900X if you want to spend like an extra £200. So in that case it definitely makes sense, but if you were kind of building this PC from scratch, you would definitely save some money on that motherboard. So the CPU used in the system, like I said, is the Ryzen 7 3800X, and it is a great processor if you're going to be gaming or also doing more intensive CPU tasks as well, particularly for something like video editing, etc. You've got 8 cores, 16 threads, and it is a really nice processor. AMD also seems to be really popular among consumers at the moment as well, so recently did our Kit Guru Reader Awards. We announced the results, and AMD came out as being kind of the top brand that you guys voted for for processors at the moment. So it definitely makes sense that they have put one of the AMD processors in this PC. It's also cooled by the H100i, so that's a very popular all-in-one cooler from Corsair. It's going to be plenty for this particular CPU. It's going to keep it nice and cool, and obviously it is quite nice to have an all-in-one cooler. It helps the system look a lot better, and it does get better temperatures over an air cooler as well. When you're looking at buying a gaming PC, the GPU is obviously the most important when it comes to getting that nice, tasty, high FPS. And in the system, you do have an RTX 2080 Super GPU. So that is one of the highest graphics cards out there for gaming performance, and it also does come with that ray tracing capability as well, if that's something that you're interested in. Being a super card, it also has newer, faster memory. So the GPU is an MSI card, once again, unsurprisingly, and it's an MSI Aventus card, so it does come with a slightly higher boost clock speed over what would be the kind of base edition, and it also has a nice cooler as well. However though, one thing that's slightly weird is with the GPU is that the cooler is actually black, green and silver, whereas the system is black and red. So the two MSI components in this black and red MSI theme system are actually the only things that also aren't black and red. So that seems to be quite a strange choice from Box. Obviously they've gone for more kind of the performance over the colour scheme with them, but then it's like, why would you have a black and red theme system if the MSI components aren't? So it is a little bit odd, but when it is all turned on and lit up, you don't really notice it anyway. The memory used in the system is the Corsair Vengeance Pro RGB RAM, and it is a really, really nice looking RAM. Like I said, it does have some really nice RGB effects. However, you do only get 16 gigabytes of it. So you've got two 8GB sticks, and that's all you get. In a system like this, with you using like a Ryzen processor, I would maybe like a little bit more, particularly if you're going to be doing something like video editing and using that Ryzen 7 processor to the best of its ability for more CPU intensive tasks. Particularly video editing, you do definitely need more RAM. However, if you are just going to be gaming on it, 16 gigabytes is probably going to be enough for you, and you can actually choose to add more RAM if you wanted to on the Box website. Also with the speed of this memory, so it's 3200 megahertz, which for an AMD processor is adequate, it's perfectly fine. However, the sweet spot is 3600. So personally, I would like to see slightly faster memory in the system, and there is actually no option for that on the Box website. The maximum speed you can select with this PC is 3200 megahertz. So that's maybe something that I'd like to see them change. Like I said, if they'd maybe saved a little bit more money on the motherboard, you could actually spend more money on getting better, faster RAM as well. The storage in this PC is at first glance really, really good, because you do have a Samsung 970 EVO drive. It has blisteringly fast read and write speeds, and you have got a 500GB drive in this PC as well. So once you've got your OS installed, you've also got quite a bit more space for some more frequently used games and programs and things, and it literally boots up within a couple of seconds. You've also got a hard drive as well, so it's a 1TB Seagate Barracuda drive. It's obviously quite a lot slower than the Samsung NVMe drive, but it's a little bit more extra storage for games and programs and things. I would maybe like to see a larger drive, because 1TB can fill up quite quickly. However, that is something you can spec on the Box website. The problem I have with the storage though is that you have an X570 board in this system. It's a really high-end motherboard, and the reason the X570 is so expensive is because of the Gen 4 PCIe, which supports Gen 4 storage, which has a possibility of reading write speeds up to 5000 megabytes. And you can get Gen 4 storage for the same price as the 970 EVO that they have used in the system. So it seems really silly to me that Box have kind of missed that out and not included the option for that on the website. You can't even add it as an extra kind of thing. It's just a 970 EVO drive, which would have been a really good drive, but when you're talking about X570, you might as well make the most of that new Gen 4 technology. The power supply used in this system is the RM850 from Corsair. So that is a modular power supply which allows for the really nice kind of braided cables in the system. It's also 80 plus gold rated as well, so it does have pretty good power efficiency, and it also has a 10-year warranty, so that gives you really good peace of mind for this system and probably the system after it as well. It definitely does come with a pretty hefty warranty on there. With the system, it draws 408 watts under load, so the RM850 is an 850 watt power supply, so what I can say, it's a really good selection for this PC. It's not overkill and it's not going to be stressed out either, so it's pretty much bang on where you're going to want it for this system. So now I'm going to finally move on to my performance testing. So with the performance testing, I don't like to kind of go on too much in the video. Please make sure to head over to the Kitguru website and there'll be a full written review with all the graphs, all the screenshots, and a lot more kind of more detailed information basically on my findings. However, I will go over kind of the basic stuff. So when it came to the kind of cooling performance in the system, it was something that I was worried about because with this particular case, it doesn't look like it has particularly good airflow. However, because you have got that all-in-one cooler and also quite a good cooler on the MSI Ventus card, I didn't have any problem with temperatures. I didn't see any temperatures over like 64, 65 degrees. So the components in the system, even under full load, aren't going to actually heat up too much. When it came to kind of the noise levels that I saw from the system, so it uses those Corsair LL120 fans, and they do definitely have more of an emphasis on kind of aesthetics, I would say, as kind of like performance and noise levels and stuff. And I do find them to actually be kind of quite noisy fans, really. But surprisingly, the noise levels weren't actually too bad. They were actually pretty consistent between idle and load. They didn't seem to really spin up too much, even when the components are under full load. So I didn't really have any issues. If you're going to be a headset user, you're not going to have any problems. But obviously, this isn't a silent PC. It's not trying to be a silent PC, so there is going to be noticeable fan noise all of the time. With my performance testing, I also do a couple of artificial benchmarks as well. So I did Cinebench, so R15 and R20, and with both of those, the Ryzen 7 3800X unsurprisingly got some really good scores. It's an 8-core, 16-thread CPU with a pretty high boost clock speed as well, so it did really, really well, and obviously it's going to be plenty for gaming with, and also more CPU-intensive tasks as well. If you're video editing, you're doing any kind of like rendering and stuff, it's kind of the perfect CPU for doing things like that. There are better CPUs out there, but it is really good kind of bang for buck. Also, I did 3D Mark as well, so that's more kind of testing the graphics and things and whether the CPU and GPU match each other quite well, and also gives me kind of an overall result as well. It's quite a nice benchmark for you guys to look at if you want to and kind of compare it to your own PC or other PCs available. So I did those results, and like I said, I got some really good scores, which is also once again kind of pretty much as expected, as this is quite a high-end system. So now for probably the most important testing that I did, and that is my gaming performance testing. So I took 3 pretty demanding games and I wasn't messing around. I cranked those graphics settings right up to the maximum and also enabled ray tracing as well on like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And with this PC, it got some really good results. So all I did was kind of change around the different resolutions. So if you're someone that's like a 1080p gamer, or whether you're gaming something like the MSI Optrix, which is 144Hz, 1440p, which I imagine is probably the sweet spot, or if you're trying to game on 4K like I do. So with this PC, it does really, really well. You get really buttery smooth gameplay throughout all of those tester games, even on the highest settings. It's going to be perfect for those of you that are trying to game at 4K 60 FPS, or if you're investing in a more kind of like high refresh rate monitor with a kind of middle ground resolution, or if you're going for like 1080p 240Hz, if you like kind of like super smooth gameplay but aren't too worried about resolution. It kind of works for all of those different scenarios. It's a really well balanced PC when it comes to gaming. Obviously it does cost a lot of money, so you kind of expect it to perform like that, but yeah, just kind of basically it does. It performs as you would expect it to. If you're going to be playing like less demanding games, something like CSGO, or if you're going to turn the graphical settings down, you can get even higher FPS as well. So yeah, in general, a really excellent PC for gaming with. So overall, what do I think of the Boxcube Dragon Army 1 MSI themed gaming PC? I do think it is an attractive PC to look at. I really like the MSI case that they've used and all the kind of black and red coloration with the matching braided cables and things. It also has a reasonable price tag for a pre-built PC, and of course it does come with really great gaming performance as well. You can pretty much run anything on this thing. However, because it is a high-end system, I am going to nitpick it because it is an expensive system, and for that price tag I'd expect kind of everything to be perfect really. I mean, they're allowed to slip on a couple of areas, but there's a few things I would definitely change. So in particular, the red RGB fans, they're LL120s. I think the money spent on those could definitely be better spent on something like the RAM, more of it, or faster RAM. They are very expensive fans, and you could just put in static red LED fans and basically get the same effect as you're getting now. Also, the X570 motherboard is slightly overkill, and also they haven't used the main feature, which is the Gen 4 storage. They haven't put any Gen 4 storage in this PC, so I feel like they're definitely missing out on that, and there's also no option for it either. And also in the system, the MSI components that they have used don't match the colour scheme, so they've done a red and black themed MSI PC, and then the two MSI components in it are black and gold and black and green, and that just seems really silly. Like I said, it is definitely kind of like a nitpick thing, but if you're going to do an MSI black and red themed PC, I wish a little bit more thought had maybe gone into it and Box had used matching components instead. However, in general, I do think they've done a good job with the overall setup. All the cables seem really neatly managed. I like the fact that it's got cable combs, and also it is very plug and play. The OS is already installed, the software, the IQ software, the Gaming Center MSI software is already installed, so you plug it in, turn it on, and you can just start playing games on it, which is exactly what you want from a pre-built. You don't want to be messing around with anything, and it does come with that 3-year warranty as well, so you have got 3 years completely hassle-free with no worries. So let me know what you think of this video. I always like to hear from our readers, particularly on the pre-built systems, because it's quite interesting to hear everyone else's kind of different opinions on what they think. There's definitely some varied views on the kind of pricing and the way pre-built systems and things work. So make sure to leave a comment. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you don't like this video, I'm sorry, give it a thumbs down, I guess. And also please remember to hit that subscribe button as well. That really helps us out. And to make sure you don't miss any of our videos in the future, please remember to press the little bell icon as well.